and welcome back to the Tackle King YouTube channel. Today it's a morning session down at Monkey Island in Newport, fishing on the River Usk. I've come through that new cutaway or new pathway they've introduced after cutting back all that undergrowth, and it's a very easy access now down to the River Usk. Before you'd cycle all the way down to the end of Monkey Island, then you'd have to climb down a bit of rock and over an old fence, and it was doable with the e-bike, but it wasn't particularly easy. But this new route down is very easy, so it's good to have a good spot on the River Usk for fishing if you want a bike, at least until they reopen Coronation Park after all of the work is done. So today, as you can see, I'm in my waterproofs. A little bit drizzly, bit of a chill in the air, very overcast. Not particularly warm, but it's not cold. And today we have a high tide in about an hour, and I believe it's 11.5 metres. So quite a high tide. And according to my fishing app, my Tides fishing app, it's supposed to be a good day for fishing, or an excellent day for fishing, because of the lunar cycle. Because I think it's a full moon. So let's get set up and get a few casts out. Because what I'm doing today is I'm going to test out those jighead hooks with the spinner, see if we can get anything off that. But let's finish setting up, then we'll get cast out and we'll see what's available. I've not seen any sign of fish yet, but it's early days. Okay, so we're going to start off with this the green. And one of the things I know about this place is that there's quite a lot of grass on the higher tides. So as I get closer to the shore, I'm going to sort of speed up the retrieval to keep the lure high in the water and away from the grass. But it's 10.5 gram, that jighead is, and it casts really, really nicely. Get reasonable distance without too much effort. So I'm that's what I mean. I have to watch that grass as I get closer to the shore, and sort of keep a good steady speeding, almost using it as a swim bait rather than jigging down the bottom. Right, let's give that a swap out and try another colour. I think I might give the blue one a try. One of the best things about rigging it for the top hook is that even though I'm getting caught up on the grass, I'm not getting snagged. It's fairly easy just to work my way through it. The other nice thing about today is that for the first time in quite a while, there's basically no wind. So I'm able to cast where I want it to land without it being taken away. But it's nice casting, these are. And they present very well in the water as well. They look quite good when they're swimming, the paddle tails do. The only question really is trying to find a lure colour that the fish will bite. If of course there's any around. And that's just a question of trial and error really. Because it can vary from day to day depending on tides, colour of the water and the cloud conditions and light conditions. And even though I can't rig these completely as weedless because the hook size is a little bit too big for the paddle tail, having it hooked at the top does help a lot. But it's really useful having this new cut through, this new path down to the river. It brings you to quite a nice location. And there's a long path down along the bank, so there's plenty of space for people. I think until Coronation Park is back open, this is probably going to be one of my regular haunts down on River Usk because of the ease of getting to it. Because it's a fairly high tide today, 11.5, we do have quite a bit of a current and it's bringing up quite a lot of rubbish. I think you might be able to see that, what looks like a beaver dam floating up and along. Now, what I'm hoping with these jighead hooks having a spoon is that in normal clear water, that spoon will reflect light and glisten as it comes through the water. Well, of course, this is the Usk, and you've only got about 2 inches visibility on it. So what I'm hoping it's going to do is to set up a water disturbance as it swims through the water, and hopefully that extra vibration will work well at attracting the fish. Just to the side of me here, I've got what looks like a little bit of a reed bed or grass bed, which is the sort of place that's going to attract fish. So I'm hoping to bring it alongside that grass area. And if there's anything in there, I might take a bite. It's a little bit too close for comfort on the reed bed. But it's coming through, it's cutting through all of that grass without getting caught. So I'm very happy. Now let's just swap out the blue and let's move on to this yellow. And see if there's anything around that's being attracted to yellow bait. Ouch. Hey, so there we go. Let's give that one a try. We're definitely a high tide now. There's a lot of slack in the water. So, no current. A little bit more visible than the blue. But the yellow seems a bit more visible than the blue. And probably not as garish or as frightening as that bright green one to the fish. But we'll carry on. We'll try a couple the other colours. I've got 5 colours that we can try out. This is the third one. Yeah, when it's in the top 2 inches of the water, that spoon does reflect and glisten quite a lot. But of course, because the water's so muddy, it doesn't really, unless the fish are right on top of the lure, it's not going to impact or attract the fish. Well, that displacement and the vibration might. Well, I've just had the first sign of a fish. Just a little bit of a jump. Heard the splash and saw the ripples, so I'll sort of target my lure over to that sort of area and try and draw it through by overcasting and slowly bringing it back. It'll be interesting to see what sort of current we get in this location as the tide starts to go out. There's a lot of places on the River Usk and this part of the estuary. You get some really weird currents. Well, I think this is probably going to be a place to come to until Coronation Park reopens. It's so easy to get to. And it's a nice, gentle, well, fairly steep but easy slope down to the riverbank for your bike. Well, I was saying that, I think I did mention a few months ago that I'd handed in my notice at work because I used to work part time to concentrate more on the fishing website because that's beginning to take off now. It's going quite well. But my private hire license has now come through finally after about 10 months, which means I can now start to do some Ubering. So that's going to give me a lot more flexibility as to work wise. I don't have to turn up to work at set hours. I can just go out and work whenever I want. That's going to give me time to concentrate more on the fishing side, which will be nice. Okay, so I do want to try and do all of the 5 different colours I've got with fully tied ends. So let's move on to more finesse one, which is the black. Not going to be quite as visible, I don't think, as this yellow. But sometimes being a little bit subdued and being a little bit more finesse in your lure can make a difference. So this is the one to try next. Oh, so there we go. It's not going to be particularly visible in this murky water, but it might be what the fish are looking for. So the next one I'm going to use after this is the pink. Let's give this black a try. Yeah, I can barely see it. Well, I think I really should have brought my wellies with me. Because with it being raining, this bank is really quite muddy. But I've been really impressed with how these jighead hooks have handled the grass. Because there is a lot of grass, a lot of weed. And even though I got caught up, I've not actually got snagged. And I've taken it through the grass, especially down there. And it's just cut through without a problem. Yeah, there's no visibility on this black one at all. So the fish really are going to have to rely entirely upon the vibration of both the paddle tail movement and that spinner movement. Because they certainly won't be able to see the bait. So the yellow is definitely the most visible so far. Now, correct me if I'm wrong regarding the history of Monkey Island, but I'm pretty sure it used to belong to the steelworks that was here. And then when the steelworks was redeveloped and all of this housing estate on both sides was built, because Monkey Island wasn't particularly great for building on, it was given to Newport Council as public open space as part of the planning and development scheme. And it's really quite nice to come down here on the river. Um, Big pathway goes all the way down the centre of the island, and on the other side of the island there is a bit of a gill in the gully. But I think they've got a public orchard or something. There's some fruit trees and stuff, and various other little bits and pieces for people. But I think there's just on the development where they're putting some extra seating, and I think there's going to be picnic areas, and that's when it's all fully developed and completed. But it is a really nice bit of a green wedge in a lot of housing development that has no green space at all apart from this. Just a shame really that this pathway hasn't been developed for disabled access so people with wheelchairs can go fishing here. I mean, I've said before, apart from that, those platforms on the River Walkway, it's very difficult for people in wheelchairs or mobility scooters to go anywhere on the River Usk to fish. Got that site in Shaftesbury Park, which is possible, but that's quite a way upstream, so you don't really get a lot of fish up there. Get trout and salmon up there occasionally, but not much really. Now, somewhere really does need to be developed, put in an accessible path with disabled platforms for wheelchairs somewhere along the bank. There's a number of locations suitable. It just needs a fishing organisation to actually take it over and start raising funds and applying for grants. There's plenty of grants available to develop disabled fishing facilities. And if it's developed for disabled people, it means that able-bodied people will have a really good resource as well. Might actually set up a Facebook group, see if we can get any support for setting up an organisation. If I do, it'll be in the link below. I'll put the link in below. I mean, I've got quite a lot of experience of raising funds for nature projects and wildlife projects, so I'm quite happy to put in some grant applications. But of course, you have to be at least be a affiliated group. You know, individuals can't really do it. You need a voluntary body of some sort with a proper constitution and oversight. Yep, the tide's on the way out now. I have a few more casts of this. Then I'll swap out for the pink lure and see how that goes. Okay, so let's swap out this black and do the last one, number 5, which is going to be the pink. I have caught on the pink down at Barry Dock. I took these lures down Barry Dock the other day and I got a conger on the pink, which surprised me really. I know cod will go for pink, but I didn't realise conger would. So that's our last testing before we start losing too much water. But as I said, I'm really happy with the way these lures has coped with quite weedy conditions, provided you sort of hook upwards and not downwards. Cast really well, really cut through the wind, and gives you a reasonable distance on the cast, despite only being 10.5 grams. I mean, you've got to add on that the weight of the silicone paddle tail, which I think is about 1.5 gram. So you took about total 12 gram weight. Yeah, better visibility than the black, obviously. So for dark, murky water, like we have here on the Usk, the yellow citrus came out really quite well, most visible. Follow that by green, then the blue, then this pink, then obviously the black. But that's just for human visibility. I think fish see differently. But they do give quite a good paddle action on the hook, even though it's quite a large hook for the size. These are 3.5 inch paddle tail silicons. Would be much better on a 4.5 or even 5 inch. Because the hook is right in that flexible paddle tail section with these smaller silicons. So I would say 4.5, 5 inch is a much better size silicon paddle tail to use. But that's it, the tide's well on the way out now. The current's picking up. That pile of wood beaver dam is back on its way down. I'll call it today on the filming now, so thanks for watching. And tight lines. I'll come back to you, of course, if we get a fish as we carry on fishing on the down tide. But until next time, thanks for watching and tight lines.